So we are very happy to have you here, and I think you can really pride yourself being the true EOSC champions, because this is the last panel discussion that we are going to have in this very long and hopefully you perceive it as a successful and useful, fruitful symposium. And the last session under the headline of engagement of institution, going beyond the usual suspects, there we have 3 distinguished speakers who I would like to introduce to you now and ask them to come on stage. I have a distinguished co-moderator, Karel, who will support me in this endeavor. And then I count on you that you really engage in the discussion as well that we're going to have after the presentations. So the first speaker will be, look, that's the problem when you cannot read. It's Katrin Voland, who is the Director General of the Natural History Museum in Vienna. It's Katrin, please come on stage. Then we do have Eva Natkova, she's Open Science Coordinator at the National Library of Technology and at the University of Chemistry and Technology here in Prague. And then finally, it's Anna Walek, Director at the Gdansk University of Technology Library and also President of the IATUL, which is the International Association of University Libraries. So what we are going to do now is we will have first the 3 presentations, and after that we are going to have a panel discussion. And with that, Katrin, I would like to hand over to you to present us your organization, the museum, the beautiful museum in Vienna, and also what you're doing in respect to open science and in which EOSC-related activities you are involved. Thank you very much. Katrin.
Yes, thank you very much for this kind of invitation. I think it's really an honor to be here in this gremium. I bet I'm not completely sure why we are not a usual suspect. So EOS Focus started to kick off in the museum, and already we talked a bit about scientific collections, and that is something I will also focus now on. What are scientific collections? What do they have to do with EOSC, and what we are doing in Austria? So what are scientific collections? In fact, it could be everything here. For instance, there are some archaeological artifacts which are collected, but the key thing for scientific collections in fact is the label. Just one example, so here we have a holotype of a bug, and without a label it would only be a dead insect. But insect together with this label is important, as in this case this insect, this specific object stands for the whole species, so it is responsible for the name of the whole species. And I also can add, if there are no researchers doing work with all the minerals or with all these insects, then it's only dead insects and not a scientific collection. So scientific collections are in museums and are in universities, and also, for instance, in monasteries. So there are different places where scientific collections can be hosted, but one feature is they are labeled, so there's some information who collected them, when and why and where, and they are publicly accessible. So we in the museum thought open science something important for us with different aspects, because as a museum we are a scientific institution. In fact, we are one of the largest scientific institutions besides the universities in Austria. We also have this collection, and we also have a very large interface to the public. And to become more open needs a strategy, because, as you know, there are also some trade-offs, and it's also linked to resources, and we wanted to set some priorities. So here's a nice visualization. What is for us the most important things with regard to openness? It's citizen science, it's open access, it's open collections, it's open source. But to focus on open collections is that we wanted to have some kind of digital inventory. We do not have one coherent one, but I think that's very important, and it's also a starting point to make this public, because we also rely on public money. It's public research money, and we have also the obligation to show what is in our collections. Besides this, it's the term digitalization is also a bit tricky because people still understand different things from it. It's also to make, for instance, pictures from herbars, but it can also be CT scans. For instance, we have also the Venus from Willendorf in our museum, and there's a 3D CT scan, and you can now see the oolith, so the stone where the Venus is made from. So this is publicly open, and it also nurtures the scientific discourse where this material may come from. And we do all this not only for us, but we wanted to look into the synergies if we have specific projects, workflows, and standards together with other, in this case, Austrian institutes. We now have a consortium which is called Open Scientific Collections Austria. So this network is going back to also a network which was already existing for some years based on DISCO. I already saw the icon from DISCO, so the idea to really see scientific collections as an infrastructure, as a distributed infrastructure, and making it really Eric. I saw this picture already sometimes, already also today. So this consortium is profiting very much from the standards, from the workflows for things like the MITS level, which are already defined. And I think our smaller partners profit from us developing databases, which we also put on GitHub, which are open source. And we also profit from running projects together. For instance, there's a project to digitize mollusks, so the mollusks, but also the archive material. So you have an idea about the history of this collection. You have an idea how the distribution of the species were, how perhaps important nature conservation projects are, what is the impact of climate change. So to make all this data available is helpful, and it's also helpful to have partners. And in this case, we belong to the cultural ministry, and they're supporting us. But we are also one of 5 real members in Austria, and perhaps something which is a bit special of us, we are smaller than the universities. So we are still a very big museum, one of the largest museums in Europe, but of course much smaller than, for instance, the University of Vienna. Anyhow, we see EOSC as a chance for us, so we are involved in the Austrian Support Office. I'm together with the university, a technical university of Graz, speaker of the steering committee, and for 1 year now we will run the management committee. This Austrian support office is organized in different working groups, and we care for the collections, but we also have a deeper look into the KPIs. So what do we expect from EOSC? So why do we put all our resources into EOSC? So one thing is we also share this vision of open science, and we also profit, for instance, from the FAIR office, which is established in Austria. I think research is something which is is great. We are now partner of one of these projects in this, I would say, in this EOSC ecosystem, which is FairyCube. So it's the idea of cubification of data. I also see another member of this consortium here, and that is something which is thrilling us as scientists. So to explore how we can link our data, which are coming from the collections, to other data with regard to distribution, with functional traits, with anything else. So this really inspires us to work for this open-linked data. And what is extremely important for us also with regard to sustainability is really this research infrastructures. So as a success, I would see we are already part of this DISCO group, and we can also contribute things which colleagues developed years ago. For instance, JAC is an important database for herbaria, which is coming from the museum and is now distributed in many places in Europe, and also Tornados, which is also a database system for archaeological sites, is also now growing. So that is something we really can contribute, and our hope is that either via EOSC, via other trades, also Austria is going to support this as an ERIC. Capacity building is key for us. I bet also the universities now started courses with regard to data stewards. We are happy we are now also partners in skills for EOSC, and also with a specific part on collections, because there are some specific standards and which are specific for collections and their work, but we also profit from the broader environment in this area. And our vision is, as it was, I think, nicely formulated, to have open science as the new normal, because it was also discussed today, it really is a cultural change, and we have to be not too fast, because it requires new skills and new workflows, and people have to change habits, and that's always difficult. Thank you very much.
Do we have questions to Katrin we can address immediately? I have a curiosity question. Your Open Scientific Collection Austria consortium, is that a consortium that is, let's say, a legal establishment, or is it a voluntary MOU-based collaboration? And is it, how is it supported? Do you have money from one of your ministries, or is it an in-kind contribution effort?
Well, at the moment, it's based on a memorandum of understanding between the different institutions. They are really, the group is really growing together. There are weekly meetings. And currently, we are supported by a 3-year position from our own ministry, from the Culture Ministry. So the idea of this EOS, of this Open Scientific Collections Austria Consortium, is also to build up skills and knowledge and a network, and also to increase trust. So there will be rather soon a call from Austria, also as part of the European Resilience Fund. And the idea is to really have this consortium to really run projects also in this area, and also to go for European projects. So one of the products of this 3 years phase at the moment should be some kind of business model. So what is in kind? Because Austria is also separated in different federal states, and the obligation is also to digitize something. But then we run for European money, for Austrian money, and try to align this, that we can use the resources better, more efficiently.
Do you have questions to Katrin? I have one more. You mentioned, you mentioned your home ministry, so to speak, is the Ministry of Culture. Mm-hmm. How, let's say, challenging is it then to, let's say, also be a research organization and have, let's say, a different ministry being your line report?
Very challenging. Yeah. So,
do you want to say more?
So we are delivering also products for research, and we have cooperations also with universities, and it is something we are working to intensify. So we have students in the museum who are doing their PhD, who are working in the collection. That is one of the areas we would run joint projects. There's also a strategy, a political strategy in Austria for research and innovation, and it's done together. And there are some products and things done together, but it's tricky. And current, especially at the moment with the war in the Ukraine, also the universities suffer extremely from shortages and from the inflation. So we have a currently slightly different, difficult situation. Yeah.
So thank you very much, Katrin, for now. So Eva, now the floor is yours to present to us your institute, the National Library of Technology here in Prague.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eva Hnatkova, and today I will present you about the National Library of Technology, and especially our services that we are providing for our research, development, innovation community through the supporting adoption, EOSC, and open science. I will shortly introduce the National Library of Technology. Then I'm planning to show you the architectural structure of the future or the plan of our national data infrastructure, and also the support services that we will provide to this national infrastructure, and some activities for the outreach or to raise awareness. So as I said, I'm from the National Library of Technology. My main role in this position is the implementation of the European standard within the Czech national landscape. So this means, let's say, for example, the requirements from the Horizon Europe, but also the priorities from European research area. And I'm also the national contact for scientific information to coordinate the activities regarding the policy. Now, what is the National Library? What we are doing, who we are, in which part? National Library of Technology is the oldest one, library for the science and technology in Czechia. And we are part of the national infrastructure for information. Our primary function is providing scientific information and resources and services to the students, academic, researcher, but also to the broader audience. Our motto is the library is the service, but we are also providing the services at the national level, and you can see the few logos here. So I will talk about them just later, and we are providing the training courses at national level and also consulting services. Here you can see the open science for us is one of the strategic priority. On open science, there are many practices. As we can see, the most important pillars, open access to publication and research data. What we have the National Czech ELIP Consortium, and we are serving to 128 research organization providing the electronic resources. We are also building the national repository. We have already national repository for the great literature, so we are going to move it into the national one, which can be used for the institution which don't have their own. This in terms of documents for the publication. But we are also supporting the research data management, or we can, in the whole research cycle, as you can see. And what will be one of the output in the few years, we would like to build one stop shop for a researcher, the platform, which will be National Library of Technology, with all the information, not only for the researcher academics, but also for the policymakers and other institutions. Everything having on one place and connected to the other. And now, to show you in which structure we are based, so I prepared this small map. It's the landscape of the Czech Open Science, call it. It's very simple. I put there 3 categories. The policymaker funders and other stakeholders, which can be service providers, university and others. But especially at the policymaker levels, there are 2 key players. And this is the Ministry of Education. And the second one is the Council for Research, Development and Innovation. This is the consultancy body of the government. And our ministry is a central office, administrative office to support the open the research, development and innovation. At our National Library, we are part of the ministry, or we are non-profit organization, governmental organization, directly under the ministry. And we are doing a lot of activities. As I said at the beginning, this Czech ELIP, this is the negotiation of agreements with publisher, and nowadays we are discussing these transformative agreements to support the open access, gold open access, but also, as I said, national repository for publication to support green open access. We have very activities, Czech Open Science Day in Krakow, I will show later, and next year we would like to set up starting to set up National Open Science Platform with, where we can connect all the information and activities of other stakeholders within the Czech Republic. And also, those who are highlighted are the project of the funds. We can see the CARDS project. This is from Structure Fund, big project. And we will create a National PIT Centrum, new generation platform, and support services for interoperability of the metadata. And this is complementary with another project from EOSC CZ, Czech. This will offer the secretariat, also some training center, and under the secretariat there will be the working groups, which will, this is important for the community engagement in various topics. And all these projects are under the Ministry of Education because they have 2 roles. They are on one side policymakers, but they are also funders, the biggest funders. We have even other funding agency, but they are biggest funders. And these projects are from structure funds, but they have even the project for the research research activity. So here you can see on the picture the interconnection with everything. And just here to give you an example how we collaborate with the ministry in the research project. So we provide them some consultancy about the requirements, and the idea was to follow the requirements in Horizon Europe. And in this first project, already immediate open access, license, data management, everything is aligned with Horizon Europe requirements. Only will pay the hybrid journals. But in the second project, or the call, which is now open science activity, will be already evaluated in the project proposal. And what we did to help them, we translated the guidelines from Horizon Europe on open science, and provided some draft material to the ministry. This is in Czech, so this is the guideline principle to practice open science to help the system. Here you can see the 3 projects. As I said, the Czech HELIP is finishing right now. It was the precondition to flip to open access. Now we have the National Center for Information Support R&D. And this is the continuation of the Czech HELIP project, but setting up also this green repository. And as I said, this is my role, this implementation of the European standards. And next one, which has to be approved, as I show you, it's about improving the accessibility and sharing all resources type and metadata PIT support for national data infrastructure. And here is the architecture or structure to our national data infrastructure. I'm not going to details because on Monday there was already section dedicated to this topic. So you can see there are 2 main actors. Infra, they are providing the storage and the other services and software. And NTK, this is on the red side, this is our part, so it's more this metadata support, PIT support, and new generation platform. And EOSC Secretariat will support everything, so this is the picture. Now, regarding the metadata support at the National Library of Technology, we are going from the next year to set up the dedicated department, and the goal is the consultation for the community, and the aim is also to increase the interoperability between the data repositories and facilitate the transfer. One of the output will be the basic metadata model or standard for data deposition, and we will also provide one of the output will be the National Repository Catalog with the information on repository and other parameters which can be useful for the Czech environment. And we are going to set up, or this is another dedicated department which is will be set up at the National Library of Technology, and is the National Centrum for the Persistent Identifiers. We already have international standard serial numbers. And from the next year, we will have the consortium. We will coordinate the consortium for ORCID. And we have already more than 20 institutions, plus 100, and also a consortium for DataCite, where we have right now 5 institutions. And we are also providing other, in collaboration with the National Library, also providing to other PIT service. Now, what is the new generation platform? This is the special central library system. And why? Because current library system at the institutions is already old, is not up to date to the requirements of today. So the idea, and there are a lot of heterogeneity, so the idea is to provide the same system with one platform, and this will improve the accessibility and sharing of all resources and efficient management to higher education, research performing organization. And here you can see few services as a central shard catalog, authentication, authorization, one search portal, platform for collection sharing, and also using resources from Czech National Electronic Information Resource Center. And now, with the rising awareness and activities, which are very important, I would like to show you just this. We set up in 2001 Czech Open Science Day. this is every year in 1 month, and the format is always different. First year we did with international expert. This year we had a forum more internal with the founders, and next year we will see how to do it. We had also some meeting on the ORCID towards the consortium, and we are supporting Irricaris researchers in their transferable skills connected to open science, other activities. And one of the conference we are organizing, this is CRECON, Knowledge Research Education Conference, which is organized at the national level. It's the platform for a discussion with European experts and national actors. And the audience are representative of the university and researchers and other. So you can see the topic that we cover since 2019. Open science, this year we have the doctoral schools. This is a very important topic as to train the Irricaris researcher already at the doctoral level with open science. Next year we are planning the research assessment, and in 2024 the topic will be on EOSC. And here you can just give you an example which are the speakers or experts that we invited to the CRECON conference. Some of them are with us. And I would like to even mention, we are not the research performing organization or the agency who evaluate, but we can raise the awareness and help in different ways. So we also supported the agreement on reforming research assessment, because this is very, very important. And here you can see the organization at the international level that we are collaborating. We are a member of EOSC Association. Now we are collaborating closely with DataSite ORCID, even because we will coordinate things. With the European Commission in the expert group on scientific information. I'm involved in CONOSC. This is Council for Open Science, European Council for Open Science Coordination, also Eurodoc, which is representing the Irricaris researchers. So when we organize the big national meeting, we always do it in the collaboration with them. Then LIBRE, as I show you the COARA, Data Stewardship Wizard, this is the tool for data management. We are also closely collaborating with them, and we implemented already at some institutions. Now with the RED 3 data, ELAC, SCOPE that we heard today, and EUA and other institutions, so even with the Czech Republic. So this was all from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Eva. There's a lot going on here in the Czech Republic. We learned yesterday in Luca's presentation, about this big investment that's taking place now. How has it been, let's say, materialized? Has it been in a close collaboration between the stakeholders, between the community and the ministry, or did it all basically drop from sky?
Yeah. I would say it is not the coordinated approach yet. We have many activities, but are fragmented. This is our target for the next period, to trying to consolidate all different activities and be in touch, because a lot of things is going on.
We have a very successful format that we call National Tripartite Event, and I see you do regularly the Open Science Days. Wouldn't that be an opportunity to link those two efforts together?
Yeah, this would be possible. I don't know the date exact of tripartite. The Czech Open Science Day is May, June. I think we already established some date.
Isabel, no? Get on it. Okay, very good. Thank you so much, Eva.
Thank you.
Then we continue. Sorry.
May I ask a detailed question, Eva? You mentioned the standards on metadata, one of your activities to develop from the National Library. Do you do this in conjunction with the different disciplines, with the universities, or how does it work? Because one set of standards for all the disciplines is not an easy thing to achieve.
Yeah. So idea is having the basic standards for the national infrastructure, data infrastructure with the basic information, and then going deeper for each discipline. And this will be for sure done in collaboration with the international experts or international community, because it should be aligned with what is done.
And the universities are part of that?
Not yet, because this infrastructure, data, national research data infrastructure is not in place. We don't have many repositories, and it's something that we receive a lot of money from structural funds and will be built, let's say, from the scratch. So we would like to establish the standards for those who would like to reach this platform.
Gareth.
Hi, Eva. Just building on from Carol's question, and I don't know if you have the answer. You're planning a national metadata center, I understood, at national level to coordinate metadata. Can you say something more about that and how that would potentially link to EOSC?
It's not my topic exactly, but it is in the development, and we have the experts at the National Library of Technology who deal with this. We have the special working group under this EOSC secretariat who deal with the metadata, and it will be incorporated within the national research infrastructure. And I said this will be, of course, linked to the standards or requirement for EOSC. So everything that is done in this infrastructure is to make it interconnected, to federate it to EOSC.
Do we have further questions to Eva now? Here, Eric Jan.
Thank you, Eva, for a very interesting presentation. You show a lot of ambition in the Czech Republic for moving to open science. You say we're not there yet and a lot of work has to be done. Can you mention the one or two biggest challenges you see in front of you? I think there are many, but what do you consider the one or two biggest ones?
I think what is missing is the strategy for open science, which will cover all the requirements, the outputs, but even the supporting structure, training for starting at the first level of doctoral candidates, rewarding incentives for researchers. This is the most important and challenging, I think, the part. And then the coordination between the different disciplines, because if we want to change, for example, the author law, we need to discuss with the ministry to make it possible, the green access, and so yeah, it needs a lot of coordination. And the strategy, because we have, for example, institutions, university, they have to set up their own strategy, and it's very hard if we don't have the national one. I mean, they don't have to which to align.
Then, thank you very much. And we move on to Anna Walek, and she is the director of the Gdansk Tech Library. And you will present academic libraries as centers of knowledge and competence supporting open science.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for inviting me to this very interesting panel. According to the main topic of this discussion, I would like to say a few words about the unusual suspects, so the librarians in developing of EOSC and digital curation and research data management activities. So I'm here wearing different hats or shoes, as we say in Poland, because I'm the director of the Gdańsk University of Technology Library. I'm also the president of the International Association of University Libraries, and I'm also playing several roles in my country. So I'm the national chapter of the Gopher Data Stewardship Competency Centers Implementation Network and a member of Data Stewardship Task Force of EOSC Association, and also the member of several other working groups, and the member of Polish network of EOSC. So all the activities we are dealing with are based in the university library. Usually it's like it is in the library in Poland, because it started several years ago. Actually, our university was the first one that established a competency center for open science, and when the national funder, the National Science Center, started to implement the open science policy and the obligation of adding the data management plan to the proposals, we were the first and only institution that trained the whole country, actually. So it was very challenging, but very nice experience. So starting with the role of the library, as Eva said, we are wearing a lot of hats and doing a lot of things in the libraries, and it's like we are not the first institution or the first unit that comes into your mind when you think about the data management and data curation at the university or data infrastructure. And but yes, over 90 years ago, the mathematician and the librarian from India, Ranganathan, he said there are 5 laws of librarianship, and the last one, the 5th one, is the library is the growing organism. So you can see it's still valid. And the tasks of the academic libraries, they changed all the time, because we started with the regular collection, then the computers came to the libraries and the e-resources, and then we dealt with digitization and open access, and now we are dealing with research data management. So the libraries are evolving, and the tasks of academic librarians are also changing. And yeah, librarians started to learn about open research data management and data management. And yeah, it was like a natural way of developing their competencies. And this is the mission of the library. So the academic libraries serve the academic community. So we have to adapt to the needs of our communities. And as I said at the beginning, we are the university library, and we work with other university libraries in Poland and in Europe and all over the world. And there are so many things that we should think about when we try to, or when we are developing or designing the services for our communities. And for many librarians, it was a natural way to develop new skills and knowledge, and some of them became the data librarians. And I can define the data librarian not the same as the data steward, because in my opinion, data librarian is a bit different role at the university, because we have this discussion within several groups, also within our task force here in EOSC, and we can see the data steward as the person who has experience in research and data management, and librarians usually have more like additional role or supporting role to this. Yeah, and as data stewards, data librarians, and university support units, we are supporting all the research services, and we are dealing with all the needs of our institutions. And also, we have to learn what the life cycles are managed at the universities, both the life cycle, the data life cycle of the researcher's perspective and from the curator's perspective. At the Gdańsk University of Technology in 2016, we started a project. And it was titled The Bridge of Knowledge, because this is the English version of the acronym of Most Wiedzy. And the main task was to build a platform that supports sharing information about the scientific achievement and outputs of the university, as well as to build institutional repository. The first one was the institutional repository for open access publications. And in 2018, we continue with the Bridge of Data project that started in October 2018. And it was focused on implementing the Open Research Data Repository and also to create Open Science Competency Center at the Gdańsk University of Technology Library. And for this project, it was funded by EU funds, by the Structural Digital Poland program. And we invited also two other universities in Gdańsk, the Medical University of Gdańsk and the University of Gdańsk. And the members of the team were not only librarians or IT staff. We were like almost 100 people involved in this project, and more than 60 people were researchers. So we invited researchers from different disciplines to help us to design the repository, the metadata standard, and the way to support them with our services. And now we finished this project in June this year, and in this open data, bridge of data repository, we have more than 30,000 data sets from different disciplines, and from not only from those 3 universities I mentioned, but because other universities, also institutions in Poland, ask us if they can join us. So we started to provide services also for them. And the repository is now under the certification of co-trust seal, and it is indexed in data citation index of the Web of Science. So we think we designed it within the best practices. And yeah, and in 2019, as I mentioned, the national funder, the National Science Center, set up an obligation to attach the data management plan to all the grant application. And being the only university in Poland with a team of professionals, Gdańsk University of Technology grown to the role of a national leader. And Open Science Competency Center is a unit within the university library, and it works with researchers and with other institutions all around Poland. So we are providing train the trainers activities, and also the trainings for researchers. And yeah, you can see here most of our activities. And a variety of training is offered also to scientific staff, to students, such as tailored training, face-to-face consultations, online webinars, etc. And the center members also validate the metadata description and the data formats deposited in the repository. So after you deposit the data set, you need to have the sign of the member of the center. We are also the national coordinator of the Polish working group. I mentioned before that we are the members of the GoFair DSCC in, and under umbrella of GoFair. And we started in 2021 during our annual conference, the Pomeranian Open Science Conference, that took place in December last year, and would be also December this year, the 2nd of December, we will have another edition of this conference, and we will have another meeting of the group, because usually we have monthly calls and 1 or 2 on-site events during the year with the group. And now we have more than 80 people involved, and they are from different universities all around Poland, not only universities, but also research institutes, and we also have some people from funders engaged in our activities. So, and you can see here the poster of my colleagues Magda and Piotr during the IATO conference in Miami, and they presented this network internationally. Actually, this poster won the first prize for the posters. And yeah, international cooperation of the university. I listed here all the institutions and all the organizations we are involved in or with. And we are also the institutional member of RDA, and of course the institutional member of EOSC. We serve in different boards, committees, working groups, task forces. So we are trying to be engaged in every activity that helps us to promote open science and research, open research data within our national network. I mentioned I'm also representing here the IATO, so the International Association of University Libraries, and we have also within the IATO, we also have the special interest group. And within this special interest group, we have people from all around the world working together and dealing with this research data management related issues. And we are also, as I mentioned, the members of EOSC. And me and my colleague Magda, we are the members of the Data Stewardship Curricula and Career Patch working task force. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna. You have a question?
Yes, I have a question, if I may. You're a member as well of LIBER as from the EATUL, if I pronounce that correctly. Both of them library organizations. How does that fit together? What is the difference between them?
Yes, so LIBER is an European association, and EATUL is a worldwide organization.
Okay, so you could see LIBER as part of the worldwide system, more or
Yeah,
less.
yeah, but we have different focuses because within EATUL we are working with libraries in different countries, in different continents. They have different, issues and expectations. And we have, each year we have an annual conference and a full seminar that takes place in different countries, and they are hosted by our members. And we are not only focused on the open science or scholarly communication, but also library spaces, librarians' education. For example, several years ago, EATUL was pretty much involved in developing education for librarians in Cambodia. So this is how we work with different stakeholders.
It's of course much wider than only open science, but I assume you have open science on the agenda in this international organization now and then. And can you say something about the difference in the different regions with respect to how libraries' involvement is in the open science development? So is this different in, for example, South America or in Asia than it is in Europe?
Yes, sometimes it differs a lot because, for example, in Europe, libraries are pretty much involved in open science activities, and the same in some of the countries in the South America and North America. We can see the interest from the Asian libraries. They are really in favor of what we do with open science during the conferences and within the working groups. So they are also joining the association, and some of them already joined also the special interest groups. And it differs. So we can see especially during the conference, when we have a session dedicated for open science, we have several presentations from Africa, from Asia, from America, for example, and from Europe, and they have different approach, and they are at the different, level of engagement and development. So, yeah, it's really interesting.
I understand it's different, but do you dare to say something? Is there regions in the world where, for example, the involvement of libraries in the open science development is stronger than it is in Europe, or less strong, or whatever? Do you dare to say something more than different?
Yeah, so, okay, I get your point.
It's challenging, I know.
I get your point. I don't think it depends on the country, because even within one country, we can see a different involvement. It depends on the level, I can say that on the level of knowledge and engagement of the particular library. So there are some institutions, some libraries, for example, in North America that are not really interested in open science, but some of them are leaders, like Miami, for example, where the open research data support services are very strong. So I would not say that this depends on the country.
So the distribution in countries is larger than the distribution over regions and countries?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have questions from the audience? Then I suggest, Karel, we move on with our panel discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we have looked at the questions for as well the session before as this session, and maybe we start simply with the same question as we used also in the session before. If you would be asked, looking at your environment you're working in, looking at the network you're having as an organization, what would be your suggestions or wishes with respect to strengthening this environment or network in order to, let's say, align all the activities that are going on in the direction of open science or more specific EOSC development?
Shall we start on this end?
Yes, good.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Well, I think it needs this added value. No? Currently, as I demonstrated, we invest quite a lot in open science with our in-kind, with own resources, and there has to be added value at different levels. So one level is our own scientists. And we have the 30 million objects which are separated in different collections, and one of the larger collections are the insects, but also mollusks. Smaller collections are the meteorites. So for meteorites, it's rather easy to digitize them, and there's also some economic value. With regards to insects, it's difficult, and so we're developing some kind of digitalization strategy, and then there are different ideas to have the holotypes, which makes research easier as people do not have to travel, but you need really good photos of the holotypes if you do a revision or some kind of taxonomic paper. Or you can also make photos from material which nobody cared about 100 years to attract some researchers. We can also see whether there are functional groups like pollinators or pests we can go for. So we need some kind of strategy and criteria, and it really has to help our staff, our own staff, to have this added value, and then we have to be slightly opportunistic, because the other added value is then the scientific system and our cooperation partners who are doing work on pests, for instance, and need our data. So we need this added value, we need these case studies to demonstrate what is really happening. And I think also on an overall level, looking for the SDGs, for instance, which are rather broad and intrinsically, of course, with trade-offs, but to really contribute to this path of sustainability with regard to research and sustainable management of ecosystems, and with education, and also with this barrier-free access. We really have to demonstrate the added value of open science and also of these infrastructures. And that is not always easy, to be honest.
I'm trying to get it.
Yeah.
And I was going to extend the question by saying the association in the framework of the MOU we have with the Commission has to monitor the additional activities of its members, the additional activities plan. And we saw some of that today in one of the lectures, presentations, sorry. And is that the type of format that could help if we would be able to display all the additional activities our members have shown in this plan, which are not open at the moment, but which we would like to be open? Would that help other organizations to see and learn from that, or interact with that as a result of what might be interesting for them? Is that what you're thinking of, or are you thinking of another approach?
No, it's really in a very practical work, and I see the scientists as stakeholders in my network and my community. Yes. They have to have some profit from the standards, the infrastructures, from the repositories which is developed in EOSC. And the other thing is the resources. It was also said it's not for free. So some things we can make a bit more efficient. We will change our workflows, so there are perhaps no additional resources needed. But if we really would contribute, then that is needed. But also to convince then the government, to convince the donors, and also to convince our own scientists, we have to really show what is the added value.
Yeah. Well, on the wish list there's always more money, so that's a relatively simple one for everybody. But showing the researchers what's going on could be indeed helping other researchers to get engaged. Yeah. Eva. What is on your wish list or on your list of suggestions to improve,
Yeah,
either in your direct environment or in the wider
Yeah.
environment?
I said it already. So it's the set up the national policy for open science. This is very important, and we would like to set up at the National Library the platform for open science, where we could connect all the different movement stakeholders, provide them the platform for communication, and having one central point for all information that could be used from the research community, but as well from the policy makers and other institutions. And what is very important, because we have more funders in Czech, we have ministries, we have two Czech agencies, and it's very important that they would have aligned policies with the European one ideally, because to make it as possible for the researchers. It's not good if each agency has different requirements, different formats. So this alignment to make it easy and less administrative for researchers.
These are simple wishes, of course, easily to be fulfilled by the ministry. Would it help if you follow the suggestion of Ute to organize a national tripartite event? Per definition, the ministry will be invited. Per definition, the mandatory organization will be invited. Per definition, the steering board, steering group person will be invited. The association will be there. And maybe we could organize to demonstrate a few, let's say, national examples of how this is done in some of the other countries, and inspire Czechia to do something similar.
Yeah, this is, I think, exactly what we need here in terms of open science, to see the bigger picture from all the components, not just the infrastructure, but also the research assessment and all the culture, how it works, which is needed to change.
Stay in touch with Isabel. Eva. No, not Eva.
Yes, so my wish list.
Your wish list.
My
Yes.
wish list is short: policy, money, and understanding.
Oh. By whom? By everybody?
Yeah, so I totally agree with Eva, because we also have a problem with. Or we don't have the policy, the national policy for open science in Poland. And there is a difference between expectations of the ministry, according to the research assessment, that is based on journals and bibliometrics very much, and between the national funder, one of the national funders, the National Science Center, that signed DORA and implemented the open science policy. So when we are talking with our researchers at the university, they say, you know, I have to earn points to pass the evaluation, so to get the credit for the evaluation of myself and my faculty and so on, and the university. And on the other hand, I have to follow the open science policy that is, you know, based on other rules. So if we will have the policy that will align the policy of the European Union, and it would be like, you know, all the stakeholders sitting on the one table and preparing only one policy, it would be better for the researchers and also for us, for the supporters.
Thank you, Anna. Policy is one thing. Implementation is usually the hard part. Yeah. And would it be good that if we would try and implement this in a stronger way by involving the institutions that have to implement it? If you talk about the things you're talking about, which I find in my own university as well, by the way, there's also young researchers that are doubtful, shall I follow my example of my supervisor that has been publishing in high-impact journals, which are unfortunately still not open access, or shall I listen to the people that tell that this is the future, open access, open science, and that way to go. So the same dilemma, not always. I think since we have about 80% open access now, we have moved quite a way. But for many, many years, this has been the situation. And in my experience, it's been the leaders in the universities and the research performing institutions that are very important in this. If they advocate the right thing, if they implement an appraisal system for the people and for the research that includes this in the right way, then it will move.
Yeah, it's true. We had a very successful tripartite event in Poland, and I think it opened a lot of eyes of our rectors and the policymakers in our country, because they saw the good practices, and they also saw the need of preparing the change for the whole country. But what is very important to engage people, engage researchers as well, as we did at the Gdańsk University of Technology. You don't have to convince those people to publish the data or to publish in open access, because they're already convinced. But they are the people that will convince other researchers, not us, not the librarians or the policymakers. They have to see the benefits.
Yep. Thank you. Let's look at the audience, Ute, and see if there's questions or suggestions.
Thank you. Let me explicit a dream of the new normal. A dream would be that I learned from the catalog of the Natural History Museum that there is a particular bug. You have several samples of that. And your catalog will be based on, I assume, medium or low resolution pictures with some general metadata. But then I need to learn more, and I would like to have high resolution pictures. I would like to have a tomography of that sample. I would even like to have DNA sequencing. Right. And so all of that, of course, cannot be done brute force by a museum, but the links to those institutes, those laboratories that could help the curiosity-driven research to carry out the project and to produce, by default, a rich data set that will feed into the EOSC. How do you see that?
Yeah, great. That is also our vision of this open linked data. And part of the strategy is that we won't be able to do everything by ourselves, of course, because it's quite resource intensive. And to really have this kind of tomographic scan of an insect is extremely cool. You can use it for a lot of applications, thinking into nanotechnology or whatever. So also part of the strategy is that researchers are coming and are doing a research project and then also leave the tomographic scans accessible and linked to our database. So that is something we are developing with our it's really a new database structure. We could not buy anything, neither from London or from Leiden or from anywhere. So we apply the international standards. We also have this genetic data. There are also areas where we do not have this data, this functional data, whatever. That is really the great vision, which also helps us as scientists to work on this. And it is a change in culture and it's a change in workflows, because the database of parts of the entomological collection have been Word documents so far. So it is really a change to work now with somehow SQL-based database, but that will become open, and that is also so our vision, because I think you talked about this valuation system. That is of course also a topic in the museum. We have high-level papers which are not necessarily open access, but the acknowledgement of our scientists is right from the beginning much more into relevance, much more into science communication. So we try to support our scientists with regard to open access. So there's a form, because it costs some money, so people, the researchers get support from us. And we also would like to build up some kind of, to help them to find the right journal, the right way between this golden and green and whatever open access options. So yes, that is also our vision. But it is also a process. Now, also to mention this, it's nothing, it's there, but it's really a process. Yeah.
Further questions from the audience? Before we close off, Ute, may I bring in one more point for the panel? Yes? All three of you have clearly shown the contributions your organizations make to the national network infrastructure. I was impressed, and from now on we should not call you the not usual, but the usual suspect. But that's a side story. Having heard each other's story, you've listened to the stories of your two colleagues, presenters. Is there anything you picked up from these presentations where you say, hey, this would be something for us to pursue or to copy or to learn from or whatever? Shall we start on this side this time?
Thank you. Yes, I heard a lot of interesting things that our colleagues are doing in Czech Republic and in Austria, especially in museums. It was really surprising that for me, and yeah, and I think we should collaborate. We should do something together in the future, because when you are working on your own in your own country and you are trying to reinvent the wheel, it's always an additional effort. And when we are sitting like here together and then learning from each other and showing other people that we can do a lot of things, I think this is the best thing that we can do in the future after this panel.
Yeah, I think it's very similar. This collaboration is very important, especially we can learn from each other what we are doing and improve our services, and something was already developed and is working well, so can be easily copy-paste. And I was also impressed about the museum, so this is some new topic for us, maybe how to collaborate more with the museum and more promotion of citizen science at our institution.
Yeah, thank you very much for your talks. I found it interesting what role libraries have, and it reaffirms also my perception of libraries being very important organizations in each country and already being open since years. And also in Austria, the libraries, especially from the university, also play a major role in supporting open science.
So you formed the network of the very usual suspects.
So thank you very much for your contributions today, and it was very inspiring. And I mean, we're happy that we had this discussion, although it was the last in this very dense 3 days program. And special thanks to Eva, because today is a Czech national holiday, and I mean, she's spending her free time with us. So thank you very much, and please hand for our speakers. And with that, I think we move on to closing out the EOSC Symposium 2022.
Yeah, but we need to wait a bit the other sessions because the other session is still running. So just enjoy sitting here in the room for other 10 minutes and then we wait for our colleagues and we do very brief closing.